Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is John at CES Motorsport, and today we have a slightly different vehicle that we want to showcase for you today. This is a 740i BMW 2018 model. Has the B58 Gen 1 engine in it, so it's a little bit of a different setup. Don't really see these very often. This one is also an individual frozen color, which is pretty cool. Has some carbon bits on there too. That definitely makes it stand out from your normal everyday 7 Series car. And it also has some upgrades to it that you normally don't see on a 7 Series car either. So we'd like to get into a little bit of detail about what this one's all about. So basically, like we said, Gen 1 B58 motor. Upgrades, full bolt-on package, your typical package. Intake, charge pipe, downpipe setup, some exhaust mods. He has some custom Dyno intake instead versus some of the normal upgrades that we do for the intakes. This one also features our custom VTA setup. So for those of you who know a little bit more about the Gen 1 B58s, they do suffer from PCV failures quite frequently on these cars. The custom VTA kit that we offer helps to alleviate PCV symptoms that these motors can have. A lot of times what happens is when you upgrade these cars and try to put more boost and more power out of them, the factory PCV system cannot handle that, and it starts to spit oil through the piping and into the motor, which can kill your power and also start smoking in the car, etc., etc. The catch can kit, the custom one like we have here, will alleviate those symptoms and allow you to make all the power without having to worry about any failures in the PCV system. This particular car has a Pure850 turbo upgrade on it as well, and we just recently upgraded the high pressure fuel pump. So this is a DSS 25 Dorch upgraded high pressure fuel pump on the car. This will allow us to have the increased amount of fuel pressure that we need to support the extra fueling, increasing the boost and upgrading the power out of the vehicle. The Gen 1 B58 motors also do require upgrades like a low pressure fuel pump upgrade and the high pressure fuel pump upgrade to increase the fuel in the car so that we can make a lot more power reliably and not run into fuel issues. After these upgrades have been installed, the customer wanted to come in and do some custom tuning, so we have him set up with a Boot Mode 3 tuning package with F80 ball. So for this particular package, the customer just opted for a normal custom 93 tune out of the car. So we're going to do that first. The good news is if he did want to get extra power out of the vehicle, he can also bring the car back in, and we could do up to about a custom E50 blend tune with the current setup that he has on the car now to bump up the horsepower, just like we do on the Supras, as you've seen with upgraded turbos, where we can get into low 500 wheel horsepower territory on a 93 octane tune and into about the 600 wheel horsepower territory on the E30 tunes. For the Gen 1s, we're still roughly about the same, high 400s to low 500s on the pump gas tunes, and then into the 600 wheel horsepower territory on the E50 blend tunes. If anybody is interested in the parts that are on this car, we do have everything listed on the website. Go check it out, and then let's get to tuning. Alright guys, we just got finished up with the tuning with F80 Paul and wanted to share the results with you. We did spend a little bit of extra time on this one just to make sure that we got it 100% right and where we wanted it to be. It was definitely a little bit hotter today. We're in the 90s with the dyno temps for the ambient temps in the shop. A little bit harder to make power, especially on a 93 octane tune when you're adding more power to the vehicle like this, especially with upgrades like the Pure850. This is also basically with all the main factory components on the Gen 1 B58 motor, so with upgraded cooling components or upgraded intercooler like an EO Speed or similar intercooler, that will increase the power output out of the car, which will make it a little bit more efficient, and we should get into that 500 wheel horsepower territory, which was the ultimate goal on a pump gas tune without pushing it too hard. But as you can see, we got very close. Even in these temps, we were able to manage 490 to the tires and also 459 torque. So on any given day on the street, this should be a 490 to 500 wheel horsepower car and about 460 torque the way we've got it set up with the tuning. Full spool, still right around 3400 RPM, so very responsive, even for a Pure850 turbo, which is slightly larger than the Pure800. I know there is a big question running around, what's the difference between the 800, the 850, and the 900? And really and truly, it just boils down to about a 50 horsepower increase in flow. It's kind of how they're designated and rated. So the 800 versus the 850 is about a 50 horsepower difference. What that translates to, based on what we've seen, is you know, about a 10 to 20 wheel horsepower difference on the dyno. Obviously that horsepower percentage is less with less power and increases with more power. What we generally say is get the one that's available since they always seem to be out of stock because they sell them all the time. Pure800 or the Pure850 will do just fine. Spool, as far as response, I don't have the dyno data up here right now, but it's actually just maybe 100 or 200 RPM difference. So very negligible difference, or minor difference I should say, between the two. You're not going to really notice that on the street very much. And then the top end, obviously, you may see a slight increase in power versus the 800. The 900, again, which we have not actually tested yet, should follow along the same principles. Still have about another 50 horsepower worth of flow, have a couple hundred more RPM of lag in the spool up just because of the different wheel sizes, but the overall effect is going to be the same. You're going to have a turbo that'll flow a little bit more top end, have a little bit more lag, but obviously you're getting increase in power. The jump from the 800 to the 900 obviously is going to be the most significant because you've got about 100 wheel horsepower, or 100 horsepower jump I should say, between the two turbos. From the previous dyno that we did on the last car, we made close to 750 wheel horsepower with the Pure800 setup, but that was fully optimized with intercooler upgrades, transmission upgrades, fueling upgrades, etc. But that is where we ended up with the Pure800. Fully believe that a Pure900 should get into 800 wheel horsepower territory, give or take. Obviously we want to test it and make sure of the data before we start throwing numbers out, but at the end of the day, I think if you guys have already tested the prototypes and have made similar results. Since we talk about kind of upgrade packages like we've been discussing with the Supras, you can actually do that with the Gen 1 B58 motors as well. The next graph that I have pulled up was from a different customer car. It was a 340i that we had a Pure800 installed on with the Dorch Stage 2, which is what it was called back then. Now I believe it's called the DS25, just slightly upgraded over the original versions. This one had supplemental meth injection also, but the overall effect was pretty much what you would typically see on an E50 tune. We were getting into the 625 wheel horsepower territory and over 600 wheel torque. This particular car was also tuned on 93 and meth. So if you wanted to upgrade the car to get to the 600 wheel horsepower level, you would do a custom E50 tune plus add the flex analyzer kit, whether you're MHD or Boot Mod 3. Once you have that on the car, you'll be able to read the E content. And then we could even do flex tuning again on both platforms now that MHD Plus is available as well. So you could do a 93 all the way to E50 blend tune if you preferred to do that, or you could have a dedicated 93 like this customer did, and then also have a secondary map that would be your E50 map that you could flash in once you have the E50 fuel in the tank and get you about another 100 plus wheel horsepower out of the car. This is again with an upgraded hybrid turbo like the Pure800. This one was an actual 800 and this is the 850, but you can also see how there's some differences in temperature and spool. This one is a 61 degree ambient temp, so the Pure800 is actually spooling a little bit faster, which it should anyway, just because it is a slightly smaller turbo, but you can see how the temperature does help increase spool characteristics just because of the efficiency. That's why we talk efficiency all the time. That's why we talk about bottom mount kits, because we like the efficiency. But overall, these are typical numbers that you would see on a Gen 1 B58 motor platform with the proper mods and the proper tuning. You can really get some excellent results. It's comparable to what we see on the Supras. Obviously takes a little bit more modification to get you there, but the end result is very much much the same. Excellent platform to be on for anybody wanting to get these kind of power levels. So once again, we'd like to thank you for watching. As always, please check our website for any information on these products or packages that we offer, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next one.